On the day I was poisoned to death by my adopted son and daughter, I learned they were my husband's illegitimate children with another woman. And just 3 weeks after my death, my grief-stricken husband welcomed his lover into the household. At the wedding banquet, my husband proudly patted the heads of our adopted son and daughter and praised them. Indeed, father and sons make a formidable team. If not for you two, when would that wretched woman ever have made room for your mother? Reborn on the day my husband brought the children home, I smiled brightly at him. Oh, what a considerate husband, bringing back 2 servants from the battlefield. Chi-Yen seemed taken aback, not expecting me to define his 2 children before he could speak, and stood there stunned for a moment. Meanwhile, the little brat who had personally poisoned my medicine in my past life hid behind Chi-Yen, glaring at me with indignation. Maintaining my composure as the lady of the house, I waved to the maid behind me. Hiyu, go see what kind of people the master has brought back for us. He stepped forward to grab the little girl clinging to Chi-Yen's sleeve, but the girl turned and slapped Hiyu's hand. Who are you? Daddy, wah. The 2 children, only 6 years old, clearly didn't have the scheming minds of adults from a past life. They clung to Chi-Yen's sides, refusing to let go, calling him dad over and over until his face flushed red and pale in patches. I stood in place, struggling to suppress the satisfied expression on my face, putting on a bewildered look as my gaze darted between Chi-Yen and the 2 kids. Husband, this. I savored his embarrassment for a while before gracefully walking over, bending down to personally wipe the little girl's tears. Why didn't you say so earlier? Look at the fuss. Come, let Auntie see, crying really makes you ugly. She probably knew she had caused trouble, standing as still as a little doll under my touch. The 2 children were thus settled into the Chi residence. In their past lives, they had stayed on as adopted sons and daughters, and because I had been unable to conceive for years, Chi-Yen had even taken it upon himself to have them entered into the family registry. I gave them every treatment that Chi-Yen's biological children would have received, yet in the end, the 2 still felt that I had usurped their birth mother's position as the legitimate wife, and they showed no mercy when poisoning me. This time, then, don't blame me for being unkind. I glanced at Chi-Yen in the mirror, who clearly still had more to say, set down my eyebrow brush, turned around, and asked in a joking tone, Husband, you wouldn't be not wanting our child, would you? Oh, I know exactly what kind of garbage this looking at the bowl while eyeing the pot thing is. But I just pretended not to see through his little scheme, blowing off the loose powder that had accidentally gotten on my hand. Exactly, we've been husband and wife for years, aren't we worth more than 2 other people's children? How about this, before I give birth, they don't get added to the family registry, and we change their names. The boy will be called Panner, and the girl Inmei. What do you think? Of course I knew they had names. After all, his little mistress had deliberately named them after Chi-Yen himself, even saying, since they can't take Yanji's surname, let them take his given name. This is the fruit of our love. So pretentious, just thinking about it makes me sick. I pulled out a handkerchief, covered my face, and began to fake cry, wailing so loudly it shook the heavens and moved the mountains, causing the matrons and maidservants in the manor to kneel and console me in a flurry. Chi-Yen's old wet nurse, trembling, shielded me. Madam, the master means well. All these years, how many people have mocked you for not bearing a child, yet how could you stab the mistress in the heart like this? In this old servant's view, this is no great matter, he's merely your subordinate. For you to adopt his child is already a tremendous blessing. Otherwise, that child would be begging on the streets right now. If the master finds the names unpleasant, why not call one Panner and the other Shinger, hoping for endless vitality? See, it's a good omen and sounds pleasant too. Master. We servants are honored to take a blade for our master. If this old servant dies tomorrow, and Huzi dares to covet the position of young master, I'll crawl out from the grave and beat that creature who defies all order and ethics to death. And so, Yanqing and Yanning became Panner and Shinger. He went to investigate and returned quite puzzled, telling me that Chi-Yen had taken the 2 children to the study and cried all night. I, on the other hand, was not at all surprised. To be fair, if these children were truly the offspring of one of his soldiers, I would never be so harsh. Unfortunately, they were born into the wrong family. But it doesn't matter, they won't have to suffer for long. After all, the one I ultimately intend to deal with is their scheming father. Playing with the invitation sent by my close friend, I decided to add some fuel to the fire for this whole household. You, go make a few new outfits for our dear Panner and Shinger. I'm going to take them out to see the world. I reached out and touched Panner, who had a look of resentment on his face, feeling quite satisfied with his well-fitted but brand-new clothes. These two are the children of my husband's guards. Alas, they lost their father at such a young age. My husband is kind-hearted and has already planned to adopt them. If the occasion weren't so inappropriate, I would have grabbed her hand and shouted, "You're absolutely right." I don't know how, in my last life, I was fooled by these two tearful little wretches and their dead father, believing such an absurd story. But now was not the time to discuss that. I turned my hand over and grasped Madame Schwez, patting it to reassure her. "Don't say that. You know my husband, he's soft-hearted. There might be some impropriety in this, but I'll discuss it with him when I get back." "Really?" I looked up with a dazed expression, my gaze meeting Panner's. I couldn't tell if he could see me clearly, but I flashed him a perfectly indulgent smile before slowly finishing my sentence. "No way, it's not like I'm stopping him from taking concubines." "Mother! He hit me!" The son of Censor-in-Chief Lady Zhao stumbled into her arms, sobbing uncontrollably. Meanwhile, Panner, the one accused of hitting him, wore a gloomy little face, showing none of the innocence expected of his age. I furrowed my brow. "Panner, why did you hit him?" He said nothing, just stared at me intently. She tried to reach out and pull Panner closer, but Panner slapped Madame Zhao's hand away, then charged at me like a little firecracker and bit my arm hard. My sister-in-law's face turned green with rage. What nonsense is this little beast spouting? Go, fetch Master Qi. Our fine eldest miss is being treated like this in his household? Qi Yan stepped forward with an apologetic smile. Greetings to my sister-in-law. It's been a while, how is father-in-law's health? The sister-in-law replaced the lid of her teacup, the porcelain making a crisp clinking sound. She looked up, her tone flat and indifferent. Can't you see your sister-in-law is unwell? You come in without even a word of concern. The sister-in-law furrowed her brow. What did you just call them? Qi Yan knew he had misspoken, perhaps also feeling guilty, as beads of sweat rolled down his forehead. He stole another glance at me, his face full of pleading, and as such a considerate and good wife, I naturally wouldn't leave him in an awkward position. Having been anxious all morning in an unfamiliar environment and knowing full well that she had indeed gotten into trouble, Shinger could no longer hold it in. With a wah, she burst into tears, struggling toward Qi Yan as she cried. Father, save me. Now, the two had just entered the residence and had their names changed, and before even being formally adopted, I had brought them out to meet people. Their time with the little companions earlier had likely been unpleasant as well, and the matron by my sister-in-law's side wore a stern, unyielding expression. What I was waiting for was exactly this, for them to be so overwhelmed by grievances that they could no longer hold back and would call out father in front of everyone. I had been married to Qi Yan for 7 years, and this was the first time we had a falling out that sent me back to my parents' home. Facing my father, who was about to say something like couples never hold grudges overnight, I sobbed uncontrollably. That child is already 6 years old, he tricked me into this marriage. Your daughter's face is completely ruined by him. Besides, what did he say back then? What did he do to you, father? What did he do to the Xing family? All the wives of your colleagues were there today. If this isn't properly addressed, you won't be able to hold your head up in the capital from now on. My mother rarely showed such firmness, and she ordered He Yu to bring in Qi Yan, who had followed us but was being held outside the gate. Qi Yan was perfectly clear-headed at this moment. He didn't try any smooth talk when he entered the room, he knelt on the ground and kowtowed 3 solid times. Then, with tears streaming down his face, he began to apologize to me. One moment he was saying he was sorry to me, the next he was calling himself a beast, and in the depths of his self-condemnation, he even raised his hand and slapped himself twice. Father-in-law, there's no need for you to persuade me. This matter is my fault, and I have wronged my wife. As long as my wife is willing to forgive me, I would do anything. He lowered his posture, putting me on a pedestal, hoping that I would, like my father, let it go lightly and smooth things over. I appeared gentle and virtuous, easy to talk to, as I carefully wiped the tears from my face. Fine, we've been husband and wife for so many years, I won't make things hard for you. Tell me who their birth mother is, and let her enter the household as a concubine. They say the dead have lingering spirits. In my previous life, during the third 7-day period after death, I had already felt dazed and confused, yet something seemed to pull at me. It wasn't until I saw Chi-Yen eagerly marrying and hosting a banquet, toasting with joy, that I realized how laughable my seemingly perfect life had been. He not only coveted my dowry and my family's support, but he also didn't want his beloved woman to be wronged, nor to be placed beneath others. So he endured for many years. In the bridal chamber, he wrote a poem, 20 years of wasted time, at last the sea comes to Mount Wu. In this unbearable silence, I laughed. The child is already 6 years old, and the mother still hasn't been given a proper title. You may not care about the reputation of mistreating people, but I do. Whoever she is, she deserves an explanation. A maid? A songstress? Surely not from a brothel. I didn't reply. Chi-Yen looked up and met my gaze directly. Instead of my usual gentle smile, I wore a rather meaningful expression, until he couldn't help but look away. Only then did I let out a snort. Discuss? You don't actually think I'd let you two lovebirds have your happily ever after, do you? I walked over to him, crouched down to meet his eyes, placed my hand on his shoulder, and instantly broke into a beaming smile, my voice light and cheerful. Husband, I'm humiliating you. I leaned back in the master's chair, idly waiting for Peng Yu to offer me tea. I've never been one to establish authority over trivial matters, but Peng Yu held the tea while Chi-Yen watched with a pained expression. The two of them, one reluctant, the other unwilling, yet neither dared to speak first. I must say, it was indeed satisfying. I nodded with satisfaction and gestured for Hiyu to bring Penner and Shinger up. This time, they'd officially been renamed, for whose son could bear the same given name as his father. Watching the two little children throw themselves into their mother's arms, the three of them wept together in a huddle. I blew on the tea in my hand. Take a good look now. You won't be seeing them for a long time. Peng Yu's sobbing came to an abrupt halt. You. What did you say? Chi-Yen shot up from his seat, pointing at me. Sheng ran. Don't push your luck. This family still bears the surname Qi. I slammed my teacup onto the floor with a crack, the flying shards nearly grazing Peng Yu's face. Oh, so our Master Qi finally sticks his head out? I thought you'd spend your whole life hiding behind women and children like a turtle. What did I get wrong? Your son and daughter are 6 years old now, can't recite a single line of poetry, can't hold a needle to save their lives. If you're not ashamed, I certainly am. And you? Don't you dare expect them to treat you as their mother, to carry your funeral urn and mourn you as filial children. Let me tell you, a concubine is a concubine. As long as I'm in the Qi family, you'll never set foot in the ancestral hall. If you keep making a scene, I'll write you a letter of divorce on the spot. His voice suddenly rose, but I showed no fear. Fine. I slammed the table and stood up, lifting my chin to shout back at him. Write it. Write it right now. The moment you do, I'll go to the censorate, to the capital's yamen, and sue you for fraudulent marriage. Let's see, a dignified fourth-rank general of the palace, married for 7 years, with a 6-year-old bastard child brought into the house trying to seize the mistress's dowry. I'd like to see how you survive in officialdom after this. I'd like to see how your son finds a wife, how your daughter finds a husband. Panner and Xinger were so frightened by me that they burst into tears in Peng Yu's arms. Peng Yu hugged the two children and kept retreating, wishing he could shrink under the table. Qian was pinned by me in front of the table, not daring to struggle hard, yet not daring to gamble with his own reputation and future. He slowly lowered his hands and squeezed out a smile uglier than crying, bit by bit. Ran. Look, don't get agitated. Let's talk this out. I took a step back, calmly picked up a handkerchief, and wiped my fingers that had touched Qian one by one, then tossed the handkerchief to the ground and stepped on it. If you'd just done this from the start, it wouldn't have gotten so ugly. Panner was sent by me to the clan school to study, and Xinger also followed the female tutor to the separate courtyard to learn characters and receive instruction. The two of them didn't see this as being good for them. Instead, they felt that I had separated them from their parents, and their resentment grew more and more. My sister-in-law and Lady Shui came to the residence to advise me, saying that if I could forgive, I should just live well, and if I couldn't get past this hurdle, then I should divorce. I couldn't keep on like this day after day, or I'd eventually drive myself crazy. I brushed them off with a vague "I'll think about it," but in reality, I continued to do as I pleased. I casually tossed aside the half-written calligraphy copy and wiped the ink-stained fingers. It's nothing. What bad intentions could a child have? Go prepare some wine and dishes, tonight I want to invite the master for a drink. Qian dawdled over and sat down, sitting upright as if facing his superior. Ran, you. This is. I'm treating you to a meal. I poured him a glass of wine, brought it to his lips, and leaned in very close. You've had a rough half-year, but I've come around too. Life has to go on after all. Now that my anger has cooled and the heat has died down, how about we have a child? No. I do, of course I do, it's just. I put on a smiling face again. I thought you'd really been completely bewitched by that little vixen. In the dead of night, the entire household was roused by my commotion. Peng Yu saw that Qian's right hand and right leg were both bruised purple and hurried off to fetch a physician. I leaned against my nanny, trying to calm my nausea and lingering fear. After the physician left, the room fell into a brief silence. Panner stared blankly at Qian lying on the bed, her thoughts unknowable. Peng Yu's gaze was piercing as she glared at me with hatred. You vicious woman. You can't stand to see me and Yanji happy, and since you can't have him, you want to destroy us, don't you? No matter how thoughtful the child was, he was still just a child. Magistrate Yao of the capital came to the residence and easily found the bamboo basket containing the snake in his room. Peng Yu still refused to believe it, insisting that I had framed him. But the child was outside the residence, surrounded by a crowd of study companions, and the old man who sold the bamboo basket testified as well. There was no way for him to deny it. Before the irrefutable evidence, Peng Yu no longer dared to make reckless accusations. She knelt down with a thud before me. Madam, it is all my fault for failing to teach my son properly, but the child is only 6 years old. If punished according to the law, he would surely die. I beg you, please show mercy. I will repay your great kindness in this life and the next, even if I have to serve you like a beast of burden. I rested my chin on one hand, leaning against the table. Peng Yu kowtowed vigorously, and within moments, blood appeared on her forehead. Easy to say. Seeing that there was no need to mediate the mess between me and Peng Yu, Magistrate Yao was extremely pleased. I, on the other hand, cast a contemptuous glance at Qian lying on the bed. His irreparably broken leg meant he would never return to the battlefield where he had built his career. This is only the beginning of your good days. Word has it that the censorate official was so furious his hair stood on end, and he swiftly submitted a memorial accusing Qian of moral failure and incompetence, even dredging up old incidents of his mismanagement of troops and loss of provisions. As a result, Qian was demoted all the way to the 9th rank, left with only a pittance of a salary, as a token of the court's final mercy toward a disabled official. As for me, I pretended to be gloomy and unhappy, putting on the look of someone nursing a broken heart and playing the part of the obedient one for 2 whole months. Then, when my parents weren't paying attention, I changed into men's clothing and slipped out of the mansion to have some fun. In the name of, I'm going south to check on the shops. Whether I'd actually be checking on shops, properties, or handsome men, who knows?